I would like to welcome Baxter Rood, the GM of Tophead Niners, coughing away in the background, for Meet the GM episode 3. It was meant to be 4, but as Mike couldn't make it, we're going for episode 3. So welcome to today's show. How are you doing? And tell me a bit about yourself.
Good evening. I am very good. I've got a bit of a cough, Johnny. Let's call it long COVID or something. I've had it for about a month. It's doing my head in. But anyway, cough sweets and water and we soldier on.
Very true.
So yeah, as we kind of picked out from the last episode, we met 20 odd years ago and didn't speak about NFL. That's been a 10-year love affair, really. That's it, going into the 10th year of our home league. I think I maybe did it for a year before I was in Show Me the Money, but I can't actually remember, to be sure.
Were you in the Hit 'em Hard franchise on NFL? Because that's 11 years that's been going on. I don't know because that was a free one. I think Craig was in that one.
Not at the outset. I think I joined it about a year after Show Me the Money, maybe. I certainly wasn't in the very first one of it, so it would have been around about the same time.
Cool. Yeah, that's when I have managed to move to Sleeper. So, but yeah, so
yes.
How did you come about your team name in the Orkney Bowl?
Well, the Tophead Niners. Tophead is where I live. That's the name of my farm. So I am a gentleman farmer, just about. I'm an accountant by trade, but I've got a family farm. So Tophead is the name of the farm. So I thought that would be as good as anything. I've got a friend in the local village who's in the league as well, so he's claimed the village name, which is fair enough. So I just went for more local than that and went for the farm name.
And what is the name of the village?
Bankfoot, so it's the Bankfoot. I think it's Bankfoot Panther. So Perth. 4 miles north of sunny Perth.
That's probably a bit easier for some people.
God's own county. There's the view out the window, if that can be seen. Can see for miles, Can he beat it?
Well, you can. I've got the sea at the bottom of my garden, but that's a different story. Anyway, so
how long have you been in? Right, I'm talking to the wrong person. Yeah.
Do that one with Craig in Edinburgh. That's a better one. That one. So, it's not a bad view. So, I'll post in a picture of my view when we get done, and I'll go with that one. But anyway, so how many years have you been an NFL fan?
Similar to you, the mid 80s would be the first time that I saw it when it came on the TV in the UK. But I was just young enough, so I was born 76, so just kind of young enough to really take it in. Conscious of Montana and the Niners, but I'd be hard pushed to say I was obsessed by them straight away. It was really the 90s. It was the Steve Young era that really was what got me into them. Getting beat by the blinking Cowboys. I got 2 championship games in a row, and then we beat them. Steve Young was great throughout, but Aikman was the better big game player, I suppose. But Steve Young and Jerry Rice, and then they kept losing to the Packers, which kind of the last few years has been a complete flip. We keep beating the Cowboys and keep beating the Packers in the playoffs, but back then both of them had our number quite a bit. It's fair to say. So the mid 80s, but really it was the early 90s, the kind of teenage years where I really started getting right into it.
Cool. And of course the next question is, how many years have you been playing fantasy football?
Yeah, well, that kind of so I think this is about my 10th year. I think definitely we've had that home league for 9 years. I think I maybe had a kind of one or maybe 2 leagues with Craig a year before that, but I can't really remember. But yeah, about that kind of 10-year mark.
Well, you never actually asked me that question in my interview, but I would reckon it's probably 2005 when I started playing.
Oh, really?
2005?
All right.
Yeah,
God.
because I was in a league with a couple of boys on CBS Sports, and I met them at the
Uh-huh.
Dolphins game at Wembley. So that's
Right.
probably when I started playing. Might have even been before then, because I remember playing baseball on CBS before. But it was, yeah, the coverage wasn't the
Fair
best,
play.
but
I didn't know anything about it back then. Yeah.
Well, back then I just went
I
for
mean, I
it. It
played
was hot news. So.
I
Oh,
played fantasy football, soccer since I was a kid. That was play by mail. Used to do play by mail when you used to, send things away in the post. That was ridiculous.
No, I never did that. I just couldn't. I never. I just wanted to follow Hibs back then. I didn't want to pick players to score against them. Whereas I'm quite happy doing it in the fantasy football. But yeah. So anyway, so the next question is, and this will probably more go with. You do get some bad. You do get some bad offers on Sleeper, but what is your best trade you've seen or been offered? And
Oh God! Do you know? I mean, as you know, I
it
quite
can
like
be
a
any league.
trade.
It doesn't have to be Sleeper. You do.
Oh man, alive! Do you know? Last season it never worked out for me in our home league, but I managed to get Mahomes and Kelsey out of Mark, and I genuinely thought that was an absolute coup. And I still look at the roster now, and I still don't understand why I never actually won. But anyway, yeah, that was a bit of a coup getting that out of Mark. I have seen, Sean. You've mentioned Sean before in one of them. About the offers you get from Sean and the horse trade. And I've done trades with Sean. I've laughed at trades with Sean and vice versa. So there's been so many. Craig offered me, and I should have looked it up beforehand. Craig offered me one this summer that was mind-blowingly ridiculous, and he still thinks that it was fair. And I can't, it's half a story because I can't tell you what it was. I would need to look back, which would take too long. But usually usually it involves running backs and people having a completely different value of them to me.
Yeah, well, I remember somebody in one of our dynasties offered me a whole pile of crap for Patrick Mahomes because my team was rubbish after the end of the season. Wonder who that was.
Yeah, that couldn't have been me, I don't think, was it?
Oh yes, it was.
Maybe it was actually. Maybe it
was because my team was garbage. You
did.
wanted to get the only decent player I had, and it was probably the quickest decline I've ever had. I can't remember what it was, but it was pretty quick. But I got sent one by Chris.
I think
Fudge,
I probably.
I'm going to have to look it up now and find out what it was. But the offer Chris got was, I don't know if it's him or whatever, but it was a trade that came through. So one person got the 2023 102 and the 2023 411 and gave away Justin Herbert and Jonathan Taylor. It's like, what the... I know. I'm hoping it got rejected and put back, because that is just... Yeah, that is probably one of the worst I've seen.
No, that's ridiculous.
I wish I was in that league. I'd quite happy to take that one.
I'm sure I must have been offering for Mahomes on the premise I was helping you rebuild properly. But I can understand why you rejected it.
Yeah.
I know, but I would have been offering you probably quite a lot of picks.
Yeah, and a couple of garbage players to go with it, I think. But yeah, no. It didn't last with it. But honestly, that's not some of my worst trade offers. In the UK dynasty run by Jack, there's one boy, his trade offers are just a joke. But some of them are just, yeah, no. There's too many to go through. It'd be like a 3-hour podcast to went through some of the offers he does.
You see, you see some trades that get completed and you think, well, you can kind of understand why people all ask for silly things, because some trades do get completed that just seem ridiculous. So
Well, that's true. But this one, in the league here, because there's a lot of newbies about that are joined, I don't want them to get fleeced. So there is a 1 day voting period. So if it is a complete one-sided trade offer, then people can vote against it. And I think if it gets 5 votes, it won't go through. Because I don't want the new ones to come in and just get fleeced. So I think it's a fair way of doing it.
that's fair enough.
So maybe if everybody
Absolutely.
stays like the 96 day for a few years, I might open up trading for the draft. But at the moment, no, because there's one or two that just go draft crazy and they'll build a superpower team and everybody else will be like, well, what's the point? I know it's a reader, but you don't want to waste it away with the draft. So they can do trades throughout the season, up to week 14, I think it is, but there is a 1 day period where you can vote against it if you don't think it's a good draft. Which I think is fair. If people don't want to vote it and it goes through, that's up to
a
them.
fair shout.
Like,
yeah,
because I can't keep my eye on all the leagues.
Fair shout.
That's
No,
totally. My good commissioner
Not with
did,
that.
so.
No, with the amount you're in.
Yeah.
Good.
I know my phone's been going a bit nuts with the charity notifications. So, what is the best sleeper or bust draft move you've done? The best move in sleeper, or the best draft move you've done, and the worst one, like for a keeper wise or anything like that.
Well, the best one. Now this is my favourite story. Is Dynasty 2020, where the whole entire league, but particularly Craig, let me draft Jamar Chase at the 110. And I can understand just about everyone else's picks ahead of Chase to an extent, apart from Craig drafting Eli Moore at the 1.08. And then,
was that the first year?
For about 6 months that it. No, that wasn't the startup. That was the second year. That was 2022 draft.
Well, I had the last pick,
and
so
he then argued for a. Correct. And then he argued for months afterwards that it never happened, basically. But anyway, that was my best pick, and that's my favourite roster by a million miles. So getting Chase at the 110 was a bonus. What is the? Well, I hate to say it, but I drafted Trey Lance a couple of times, and so far quite high up the draft order, and so far that has obviously not worked.
Well, I think a lot of people got caught in that one.
So yeah, that was a bit shaky.
So obviously my two,
absolutely.
My two, which you never asked me, which you'll love these ones because they're both.
I had a different question list, Johnny. That I apologise. Yep.
Well, obviously my one was keeping Le'Veon Bell as my keeper in our main league after he won me the league the year before and then sat out the whole bloody year. That was a waste. And then in year 2 of the Dynasty 19, when I sold the house, mortgage and the whole island of Orkney to get the number 1 pick and pick Clyde Edwards fucking Hilaire. And that was not the best thing either. And I'm still recovering from that now, and that was 4 years ago, I think it was, 3 years ago. So yes, I'm slowly getting my picks back now. Yeah, so that's
that right up.
That was my two. That was that was not good. So I'm never doing that again. So I'm a bit more shrewd with my draft picks now. So anyway, obviously,
I actually in that league, I traded Chubb away to you in that league, which was a heck of a mistake.
Yeah, but who did you get in return? It's 1 point a carry, by the way, if anybody wonders. It was a bit of a. It wasn't my better setups, but it's too late to change it now. So, because even Hilaire would get me 20 points a week,
all right.
Then you get Chubb's getting 60 points. But I can't remember who you got. It wasn't Kamara or did Craig?
No, neither can I. But I don't. It wasn't. It wasn't good enough either way.
No.
Anyway,
well, Chubb's basically cost me from getting the number 1 pick each year because he gets me just past the playoffs. and then I can't get the number one pick. So it's been a bit of a hell one, but I'll get there. Anyway, so and obviously we know this by now, going by the team name. But what is your favourite NFL team?
49ers. Absolutely. And that comes from them being good in the 80s and 90s. Really, I won't shy away from the fact that as a child I obviously was a glory hunter, and don't
Well,
regret it for a minute.
yeah, well, you're a St Johnson fan, so you're not really a complete glory hunter. But you were quite annoying and had a cup runs, but you've
Double
been a
cup,
bit quiet lately. So
double cup winners, Johnny. Double cup winners. You'll never sing that.
no.
So yeah,
Hey, at least
it's
we
all
won
good
the
in
Scottish
St
Cup
Johnson's
after.
land as well.
At least we finally won the Scottish Cup after 100
Well, yeah.
years. So yeah, yes.
I think
Anyway,
you'll find we've won it
what is your
twice in
least
the last 10 years. Anyway,
what is your least favourite team and why? I'm not sure how you go
my
with this
least
one because I
favourite
know
team.
I've seen the banner. Yes.
Well, I mean, because of Craig, I don't like the Packers, but at the same time, the Packers have caused him so much anguish that I actually find them quite funny. Um, I just I don't like Seattle. Obviously, they're in the same division. There's obviously been a right bit of rivalry there, more so than the Rams. But ultimately, I just can't stick the Cowboys. I just can't stick them, and that goes back to
Sorry, boys.
starting out with the Niners and getting beat by them. Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith and whatever else, and they were that damn good, and they you know beat us twice in the championship game 2 years in a row, and then we got revenge on them, and so it went on. But yeah, just don't like the Cowboys. Don't like Jerry Jones. Just don't like just don't like them.
I think most of Dallas don't like Jerry Jones, but hey ho. Anyway, so what is your favourite former player from your team? We've sort of discussed this in my one, but we'll go on to your one.
So yeah, I mean, it's hard not to just automatically say Jerry Rice. I I think uh, Ronnie Lott. So Joe Montana and Ronnie Lott were just a little bit before I was properly knew what was happening. I think looking back and you read stuff and you see stuff about Ronnie Lott, the guy, he was just immense, and there was only 3 or 4 of them actually won all those 4 Super Bowls in the 80s, and he was one of them. But in terms of being a teenager and getting right into it and whatever else, it was Jerry Rice all day long. I mean, he was just a god. Steve Young was great, and the Niners' offense ran through him. Aikman was better in big games, unfortunately, and that kind of cost him a couple of rings. But he was phenomenal to follow Montana and do what he did. But Jerry Rice is the GOAT, he's the GOAT. Deion Sanders was pretty cool when he came in briefly, but yeah, Jerry Rice all day long. And that kind of the first Super Bowl when that Steve Young, the only Super Bowl that Steve Young won as a starter, that was when they pumped the Chargers, and Jerry Rice is like, well, he was 2 or 3 touchdowns, 150 yards. It was superb. So yeah, Jerry.
Okay, so what's your favourite player, former player, not on your team?
Do you know, that's a hard one. So I don't know if I could differentiate. I don't know if I could differentiate between 2 or 3 of them. So I'm a bit. I've always liked good defenses. So Ray Lewis. It's hard not to enjoy what he did. I always really liked Troy Polamalu. I quite liked the Steelers' defense of that era. So like Troy, John Elway, big John Elway fan of all the kind of former quarterbacks. I don't hate Tom Brady the way that a lot of people do. I've got kind of no issues. with that level of success. I really actually quite like Brett Favre as well. But yeah, probably Ray Lewis or Troy Polamalu.
Yeah, of course. I know I say Jones Montana my one, but thinking back, receiver wise, obviously you've got uh, think uh, think about Randy Moss back then. But I'm not changing my mind. I'll still stick with Joe Montana,
Yeah,
but Randy
no,
Moss,
he was good.
he was just yeah, amazing. But like I said, there's a lot of amazing players back then. So
the second best of all time, yeah, behind Rice, but yeah, he was
yes,
pretty good.
yes. I know Rice is the best, but still the second best is still better than none. Anyway, so who's your favourite player from your current player from your team? And you've got plenty to choose from. Go on, say Trey Lance. Go on,
Well,
please.
see, that is the difficult thing. I mean, well, we are absolutely stacked, uh, properly stacked. Nick Bosa, uh, I, I, the guy's just perfect in every way, shape, or form. Um, but George Kittle is pretty damn close, you know. It's the two of them. I mean, Fred Warner, he's obviously a heartbeat of the team as well, but Bosa's just different level. I think he's phenomenal. So, and he's obviously going to get properly paid, and he deserves it. It's not. I mean, you know, it's not the sacks. The amount of pressure that he puts on, play after play after play, he's incredible. So yeah, and CMC, he's obviously just joined and come to the party late, but he's got everything about him as well, attitude wise. So man alive, do we just need a quarterback to put their hand on the tiller and make it happen this season?
Yes. Well, you just need to keep CMC healthy. That's the problem. But yeah, he's something else. But
Yeah.
so, what's your favourite current player not on your team?
Um, partly Jamar Chase because of getting him in that draft, but probably Michael Thomas. And it's that's maybe mostly because he helped me win the Show Me the Money trophy in 2019 when he was just catching everything in sight.
Yeah,
Um,
that
but
was
kind of
non
what I was
PPR
saying
as well.
earlier,
So
yeah, it's like watching NFL now is all, you know, it's red zone. Okay, you've got the individual live matches on Sunday nights and Monday nights and whatever else, but they're in the dead of the night and you don't always see them all. Um, so between fantasy and red zone, it's so kind of quick now that I find I don't get attached to other players the same way. But and especially once you've got lots of fantasy teams, because you generally end up having everyone somewhere. Um, so you watch it. I watch it with a bit of a different eye. I mean, to be honest, I could be quite smart and say Aaron Rodgers because he has screwed up the Packers alongside being the league MVP 2 or 3 times. He's a magnificent individual that has caused our good friend Craig so much anguish that yeah, I've got a soft spot for Rodgers.
yeah, it is funny when Craig goes AWOL for a couple of weeks after another player loss and stuff like that. Sorry, Craig, but it is.
Can he beat it? I love it.
Okay. So, what is your favourite NFL or NFL fantasy podcast?
So I have been listening to particularly Fantasy Pros for 3 or 4 years now, but I've kind of gone off it a little bit. So when Mike Tagliere was doing it and unfortunately died, he was a hell of a loss to that industry and particularly Fantasy Pros. And the kind of that team have all split up a bit now, and they've got a new team in, and they're all right, but I've kind of got to the point where you kind of feel you know what's going to get said in a way, and I've started listening and watching on YouTube underdog, Josh Norris, and I think they're excellent. Like the level of detail that they come away with is like they're proper sharp guys. They know football inside out. So I'm
Well,
enjoying
you
their
can't actually
stuff.
do underdog in the UK.
It's just no, I know totally, which is a shame, but that will hopefully change at some point. But nah, their content is good, and I'm hoping it's going to help me with some drafts this summer. But we'll see.
Cool. Hopefully not on another one, but yeah. And here's one a question from Chris, our last person on. He sent me a message. And what is your
Yeah.
favourite? What is your favourite NFL related movie / documentary? That's a good question. Like that's going to stay in for everybody. That is a good question.
Well, I mean, draft days, great,
I
really,
love
isn't
watching.
it? I mean,
I love
doesn't
draft day.
everyone watch that?
Well, that is my
But
pre-draft watch.
at the same time, Show Me the Money is, Tom Cruise. It's hard to beat that as well. Draft day, probably draft day.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a brilliant film, but I do watch it all the time because it is. Yeah, you have to. Ken,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
no.
totally.
But yeah, there is a lot of good films out there. Like I do love watching Remember the Titans. That's an awesome film. But yeah,
Oh god,
and
I've not watched it properly. I'm terrible with films. I fall asleep during films all the time.
that's because you're a farmer.
But
You're up
I
early.
can sit up at 2, 3 in the morning and watch a terrible NFL match and not fall asleep during it. And they can be quite slow, obviously.
Yeah, some of them can
But
be
yeah,
pretty bad.
films,
Yeah.
10 minutes and I'm asleep.
So, what was the question you want to be asked? The next one.
It's
Gary
you said it
tomorrow.
was Gary next. I want to ask Gary who he thinks will be the 49ers starting quarterback in next year's or this season's playoffs, because we will be there. But who will the Niners starting quarterback be at that point in the season?
Sam Darnold.
It could well be.
I saw somewhere he could be
I
the.
mean, I think. Well, it's out there that he could be the
Be number one.
backup
Yeah.
QB, and Trey Lance might be looking for some experience in a feeder league or something. Purdy looks like he's the incumbent QB, but it's whether he will be the starting quarterback in the playoffs next year. That's a long season to get through.
Yeah, it's a long season, like, and a lot of hits. That's the problem. Yeah. But if Sam Darnold comes in, all he's got to do is give the ball to CMC. So, just give him the ball. So that you just need to.
Or Debo, or Ayuk,
or Debo. Yeah, just don't let him throw the ball. So
there is
the three
the
quarterbacks
notions
this year.
out there that Shanahan, the notions out there that Shanahan didn't really want Trey Lance, that he wants a scheme manager quarterback, that the scheme, that Kyle's ego is so big that he wants a game manager in there, etc., etc., that his scheme transcends the quarterback, and Trey Lance is a bit too flighty for him, etc. Who knows?
Oh, well, it's a good question. I'm sure Gary, if he's watched this, no, I don't think anybody is, but if he watches it, he'll know the question. If not, you'll find out tomorrow. So I think we're on at 9 o'clock tomorrow
Absolutely.
night, and that'll be live again on YouTube. But thank you for coming on, and thank you for interviewing me beforehand. I was wondering, I thought it'd be a bit daft interview
My
myself
pleasure,
at some point,
Johnny.
so I'm glad I got it done. And I hope you look forward to the year and enjoy the year. Just don't
Sure
win.
do.
I'm hoping I win, but I can't imagine that's going to happen. My hands will be a bit full, but I will try. But we are in the same
No,
division this year, so that should be
as-
fun. So
We're in the same division, Johnny. Yeah,
I know.
you're going down, basically. You're going down.
It's okay. I might have to draft Braxton Berrios just for Jack, because obviously Jack hated when I picked him up one time before the final and he scored crazy amount of points and that's me won me the game. But that's a different story. I'm sure we hear all about that when he comes on with that one. But anyway, but thank you for coming on. And I hope you enjoy
Nice one,
watching the
thank
rest of them. And I'll just stay on the line and we'll speak to you in a minute. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank
Will
you.
do.